Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures That Outperform. I hope you've been following the series on how to increase workforce productivity. We are covering just so many of the tactics. These are all the human factors that drive productivity. You can certainly lean out a process. Maybe you can introduce AI, but the fact of the matter is the human side of productivity is the largest factor that you can exploit as a leader to improve the performance of your organization. In many companies, only 60% of the productivity potential of the people's being tapped because this area remains largely a blind spot. These are largely unseen factors. So we're going to cover actually now, how to actually increase the vibe or energy of the organization today. This is one of the biggest things that you can do as a leader is to elevate the energy. And so we're going to get into it. I'm Frank Wander. I'm the founder and CEO of People Productive, and I'm here with my co-host, Terry Mays, who happens to be a certified culture engineer, and she's phenomenal at what she does. And so, Tara, maybe you want to get into kicking us off on this topic.
Yeah, this is another one of those things that this is a free one. You don't really have to do a whole lot, spend a whole lot of money to have your energy and your mood be upbeat. But it has to be genuine. You cannot fake it till you make it. You really do have to have an upbeat, optimistic attitude that people want to be around. Your mood is very much contagious as a leader. And so you want to make sure that you're setting the tone for the organization. So whatever you're doing is how the people are going to respond. And people are going to take that direction for whether or not they should be more creative, or if they have the liberty to be more creative based on how you are. They're not going to take risks if they feel like their leadership is not going to embrace them if they fail. So you really do, as a leader, have to make sure that you are setting that vibe right out the gate, because people can tell just from a 30-second conversation. Just walking into a space, the room has a vibe. The organization has a vibe. And that vibe, you pick up on that right away. I mean, within seconds, you pick up on that vibe. And so you want to make sure that you're setting a good vibe and a good atmosphere for people to walk into, that your team, your leaders around you are setting a good tone. Because if they are down and depressed and they don't, have a whole lot of happiness or enthusiasm about what they're doing, that's going to rub off on the people, and they're going to have the same kind of attitude. So you want to make sure that you're not just trying to be overly happy, right? So we're not talking about that, just faking happiness. This is not what that's about, but having some genuine interest and concern and care about what you're working on and how you can translate that mood to the other people in the room is a game changer. It is so fundamentally at the core of what you're doing, and it impacts everything else. It impacts the core KPIs. For example, we spend a lot of time focused in on statistics and metrics and reporting. And nobody ever checks the mood of the organization.
No, it's a shame.
KPIs. It's a total miss, absolute miss. And people are blindsided when they start seeing people leave the organization. They're like, why are they leaving? Or why did this happen? They have no clue. And a lot of it has to do with the mood of the organization.
Yeah. When you walk into any organization, and I've done it in many, there are large pools of untapped potential all over the place because leaders have absolutely no idea how to operate the human infrastructure. So what we're giving you is the operating system. These are all the different things, levers that you can pull as a leader. Now, organizational energy is a really big one. As a matter of fact, it's the single most important thing that you can change it very, very quickly. Mood can go from high to low very fast. And likewise, you can elevate the mood relatively quickly because mood is contagious. Yeah. If you've got an upbeat mood, if you're enthusiastic, if you're optimistic, if you share that energy with everybody else, it gets picked up. And the higher up you are and the more people you have under you, the more your mood is in contagion. So people are always looking to the leaders who are higher up to get a sense of how they're feeling, what they're believing, what's going on. And mood has an enormous impact on just so many different things. They've done studies. If you write something very positive about the people around you, it reduces your stress and elevates your mood, actually. So the simple act of just writing a note to yourself about how great some of the people are around you is going to improve your mood and your feeling for that organization. And it's going to lower your stress. And actually, they know from the studies that actually lowers your cholesterol as well, which is amazing. We know that environments that have a very positive and upbeat mood have higher levels of creativity. Creative juices start flowing when people are enthusiastic and optimistic about things. These are incredibly important levers. And if you're not consciously lifting and elevating the mood in your organization, you're missing out on one of the biggest levers you've got, because that affects everybody. You affect the whole place.
Yep.
It's like if you turn the heat up in the building, everybody feels it. If you make it cold, everybody feels it. That's how energy works, right? So if you lift the mood, consciously work to lift the mood and be more upbeat, you're going to be a contagion in a very positive way. No question.
Absolutely. You don't want to leave people in that state of uncertainty where they can't really discern what's happening, where they can't really gauge how their leaders really feel. You want people to know. You want them to feel comfortable and feel like they're in a safe environment. Because remember, all of this goes back to the way the brain is wired. And a vibe and a mood can put people in a sense of that state where they feel like they're connected and they're safe, or it makes them feel like they don't connect, they don't fit, and they're not safe. And when people don't feel safe, when they're in that state of uncertainty, they're constantly looking for how they can protect themselves and get back to that state of safety. And sometimes that means leaving the organization because they truly feel like they're not safe in that organization. Other times it may mean leaving one team to go to another. But all of those are just signals. When you find high turnover in an organization, you can almost certainly put your finger on uncertainty, where people feel like they are not in a safe space, where the vibe is not such that they feel like they can fit, that the mood is downbeat and not upbeat. All of those things go right back to vibe. So if you're looking and you're trying to figure out what's going on with the organization or a part of your organization, that may be an indicator that you can look into. How do people really feel about this company? It's one thing to say, oh, yes, we love the organization and, we're committed to doing well. But what do people really think? Like, don't be afraid as a leader to go and have some people that you can talk to that will tell you the truth, that will really be honest with you and give you some honest feedback. Sometimes it's not what we want to hear, but a lot of the time it's absolutely what we need to hear so that we can make a change. And sometimes people just feel like they are not safe to say what they really feel. So they just give you these, platitudes, and they say, oh, we love it and it's great, when it really is not. So you want to, as a leader, make sure you've got some people around you that aren't afraid to give you honest feedback and solicit it. Actually give people the freedom to share how they really feel without repercussion. Let them share their true feelings, because it'll help grow and mature the organization in ways that you'll never grow as long as people are just saying, yes, everything is great.
And, one of the things we should point out here is that we talk about all of these different human factors as discrete things, but it's really a stew. It's all in together. So if you're operating at level 2 of Maslow and you have a very toxic environment, people don't feel safe, the mood's coming right down.
Right.
Levels 1 and 2 are mood killers. Absolutely, without a doubt. Fear of survival, all of these things are going to kill the mood. You're going to have worry take over. But once you get your organization up to level 3, where they're not worried about the basic survival, you've got a pretty good culture, it's not toxic, people feel you care about them, go through the episodes we covered earlier. Now it's your job to boost the mood. You've got to consciously boost the mood. You've got to manage it up. And there are lots of tools to do that. You've got to be able to inspire people through your language and, create an exciting tone or vision for where the place is going. That helps elevate the mood right away. And, we know positive emotions. When people feel more positive, they've done a lot of studies, problem solving is enhanced. It accelerates people's ability to solve problems. They're able to recall information more crisply and quickly. And complex decision making goes faster. And that's because of the mood. That's how powerful this is. This affects, every aspect of the work environment. So you want to be shaping that mood as a leader, as a coworker, whatever your role is. You have an influence too. If you're just a individual contributor, you have less influence because you're not a leader. People aren't looking to you, but you're going to influence the mood of the people around you. Every single person influences the mood of that group. Every person. Some people have a bigger influence. No question about it. But everybody needs to contribute to a positive mood. You can affect the mood of the place simply by smiling. Smiling elevates the mood. This is neuroscience. It's been studied. There's no question about it. That is the case. So if the smile index in an organization is low, the mood is low. So by simply smiling is contagious. And we know that because people have mirror neurons. They start to feel the vibe from the people around them, from the expressions, from the body language, from everything. So you've got to really think about this. Everything you do as a leader or an individual contributor contributes to the mood. And you should ask yourself, what kind of mood am I setting today? How am I influencing the mood? And what could I do to make it more positive? Because if everybody chips in, mood goes up, the speed of work goes up, problem solving increases, creativity increases, cooperative behaviors increase. Everything you would want to have happen go up as the mood goes up. And so you need to consciously go after this. It's just that important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another aspect, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I think you made a comment about just stress hormones decreasing when people are in an upbeat environment, when they're kind of having those positive, upbeat thoughts. There's a real connection between your thinking and your feeling and your actual physical health. And so as you begin to make those connections and start to see that, hey, this stuff is not just ooey gooey feely, touchy feely stuff. This changing of the stress hormones and protecting against heart disease, some of the things that have been found to be impacts of just having these positive emotions. This is huge. This means that what you're thinking and feeling is impacting your organs, it's impacting your endocrine system and your limbic system and all of the systems that are in your body. And then to know that it's impacting your heart in such a way that can either protect or cause more damage to your physical heart. That is huge information.
Huge.
It's huge. It's game changing. So being able to make those connections and see how what you're thinking and how you're feeling is impacting your heart, it's so important. I can't stress it enough. So to spend some time actually thinking about what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
I read this awesome book that I highly recommend. It's called Winning the War in Your Mind. But it's basically, he encourages you, it's by Craig Groeschel, and he encourages you to think about what you're thinking about. And as a leader, you most certainly want to be doing that. You want to make sure that you are thinking about what you're thinking about so that you're setting a positive tone and a positive vibe in your organization, because it impacts health. It impacts stress.
Yeah.
It lowers cholesterol, like all of these things that are, tangible KPIs. If you translate that into the workplace, if you're thinking about the physical body and we check our blood sugar, we check our hormone levels, we check cholesterol, we check, blood flow and those types of things. That's what you see coming out in the KPIs in the organization. If you're not having a quick incident response time, if your help desk is not very helpful and people are kind of avoiding
that never happens.
plague, right? If you find that you're having all these other symptoms where your KPIs are suffering, you may consider looking at the people and the vibe and how they're feeling about what they're doing. Do they have the tools that they need? Have they been empowered? Do they feel safe in the organization? These are things that nobody ever looks at. We always look at all of the core KPIs, how many projects are we completing every month and that type of a thing. But nobody ever checks the mood and the vibe. Nobody ever looks at how the people are feeling and functioning on a monthly or quarterly basis. That's a KPI you should add, most certainly.
Oh, yeah. You should understand what the mood of your organization is without a doubt. Now, if you're good and you build skills in this area, you can walk around. I mean, I used to keep my own smile index roughly of, kind of what I felt the vibe was in the place. Yeah, I would ask people, how you feeling? What do you think people are enthusiastic about what we're doing? You should inquire, because humans are an incredibly strong sensor. They know what's going on. They have an incredibly strong feeling about it.
Yeah.
And just remember, people don't do what leaders say. They embrace what they do. And what kind of example are you setting? I don't think there's a more important question when it comes to mood. How are you influencing the mood of your organization?
Yeah.
Because it goes up and down. There's no question about it. When they look at and study teams and team performance, and they kind of record all the things going on and then evaluate it for the number of positive versus negative statements that are made amongst that group, high performing teams have many, many more positive statements in the ratio of positive to negative than the low performing ones. And so this is all contagious. It affects everything. And you've got to set the tone, and you've got to work to improve the mood of your organization. It's just that important. I think nothing really matters more. You should familiarize yourself with this topic. You should look at some of the research on it, ask questions to Terry and I, and, you can do it when the show is broadcast on the People Productive channel. You can put questions in. We're happy to answer them. You can always send a question to coach@peopleproductive.com, and we'll get back to you. But, we're a resource. This stuff is real. It is the most important thing you can do in a company. If you're the CEO, there's nothing more important than tapping all of these human factors to build a truly high-performing, enthusiastic, inspired culture. Nothing. There's nothing will come close. With those 4,700 CEOs believe in that PWC survey from January that 40% of the work in the organization is unproductive. They don't even understand mood, yet they feel that. And so the loss of productivity and energy is actually much higher if you really study it and dig into it like we do. The reality is this is the single biggest opportunity in every company. And this series on how to increase workforce productivity is covering many of the factors. So you can get a real education just following this.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to episode 9, which is going to talk about knowledge, competencies, and skills. We'll be broadcasting that next week. We're here every Wednesday at 3:00 Eastern time. We have another show that we stream. Hope you can join us. I think it's been a phenomenal series so far, Tara. And it is the number one opportunity in most companies in corporate America today. It's not AI. This is it. Affects every individual and how well they're performing. All of these factors. If you get these right, you're going to outcompete everybody. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. Good summary, Frank.
Yeah. So, hey, we'll see you next